or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we've got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
And if you're looking for a price on a car, truck, or SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in, you've come to the right place. The Frontier Motor Show on the radio and on the TV. Give us a call at 478-3116 and ask a question of the owner of that fine establishment. I refer, of course, to Iven Streckel. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Don. Thanks so much. And kind of interesting show that we do here on the WCOA radio show. We also tape record this for our cable listeners throughout the Pensacola area. So if you are watching this on TV, don't bother calling in right now. You can call the dealership number if you want a value on a car, and that's one of the things that we provide when we do the show is we give you prices on your car, whether you want to sell it or whether you want to sell it to a dealership or trade it in somewhere. We do the research and let you know what you should be getting for your car. And if you are watching this on TV, you can call the dealership phone number, which is 850-436-8080. That's 436-8080. And if you're listening to this on the radio right now, you can join us by dialing 478-3116. That's 478-3116. That's 1370 AM radio. And we're going to spend the next half hour talking about the car business and what's different and what's new in the car business. And I think one of the things that Frontier Motors provides for the people in our area is free advice, not just the values of the cars, but free advice on what you should pay for a particular car, perhaps which car is a good car or a bad car. And I subscribe to the Consumers Reports, and I've got the new preview right here on some of the new 2012 model cars that just came out a couple of weeks ago. The fact that this is September, a couple of weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago is when the 2012 model carryover was, or switchover, I should say, where they stopped building the 2011s and they started switching over to the 2012. So these 2012 models have been out for about 4 weeks now. We actually have 5 or 6 2012 models on the lot already. And of course, one of the big questions that we get right off the bat is, well, how did you get 2012 models? Well, there's always a reason. Some of the cars we have, for example, I've got 2 Ford Focuses, and these were cars that were ordered by rental companies, but they just never used them. So they might order 100 Focuses, and they distribute them throughout all their rental areas, which is normally around the airports, if it's Orlando or if it's Tampa, or if even here in Pensacola they have rental cars. And if they overbuy, those cars sit in a pen. And after sitting there for a certain period of time, they just figure, hey, I'm going to get rid of this car, and we're able to buy brand new cars at the auction. And of course, we pride ourselves in paying used car prices. And every once in a while we get lucky and we can buy brand new cars for used car prices, and that happened with the Focus. Also have a 2012 Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport with 1,100 miles on it, and that was a trade-in. Person bought the car, actually flew up to Bowling Green, had the car custom built. It was you get a little sticker for, I guess, $500 more. You can pick up your own car, and they give you a tour of the plant, and he customized the interior right through Chevrolet. And after about 4 weeks of ownership, he decided I didn't want the car anymore, so he traded in for a different car. This car has 1,100 miles on it. It's never been an accident, never been smoked in. When you sit in it, it still smells like it just came off the show floor, and of course it did. Just come off the show floor about 6 weeks ago. And based on that, there's always a story behind how we get such new cars. And more, I would say the average our car is on our lot, and we hit a new record this morning of 333 cars in inventory. It's the most we've ever had. And people say, well, what's the problem? How come you have so many cars? Aren't you selling them? No. The reason we have that many cars is because we are selling them. The more cars we sell, the more cars I buy. We're doing somewhere between 150 and to over 200 cars per month. So we pretty much switch that inventory about every 40 to 45 days. We have new cars on the lot. But what it does by having 333 cars on the lot, it gives our customers that come out to Frontier Motors the ability to shop in one location, especially if they're not really sure what they're looking for. And let's use a mid-sized car, for example, and you want to go look at a Chevrolet Impala or a Chevrolet Malibu, or maybe go a little bit smaller, and you can go with the Chevy, they have the Cobalt, which now has been replaced, but the Chevrolet Cruze, and some of the other smaller Chevrolet cars. And when you go to Chevrolet dealership, of course, that's what they're going to show you. But now let's say you want to look at the Ford. Well, now you got to go across town, and you got to go look at the Ford. So, and then let's say you say, well, I want to look at some of the imports too. Now you got to go to another dealership. And this is a lot of work. If you're taking off of time off of work to go do this. It's almost like working because you've got to meet a new salesman every time. A lot of the new car dealerships have these rules, company policies that you've actually they've got to, what I call, log you in. In other words, they got to get a copy of your driver's license. Even if you just want to kick some tires, they get a copy of your driver's license, they get your email address, they get your phone number, they put everything in the computer so that you are a registered customer. And to me, it's a little bit invasive, especially if you just want to spend 15 minutes of your time looking at some new cars, maybe taking one for a test drive and not really sure if you even want that car, but that they have to get all this information. And you have to do this if you look at 6 different models, you've got to go to 6 different dealerships. At Frontier Motors, we're having 333 cars sitting there in one location. Our salespeople, we have 10 salespeople, they unlock these 333 cars every morning, and they lock them back up every night. But what that means to you when you come on a lot, you can actually sit in every car without having salesmen go run back and forth. And if you've ever been to a new car dealership, it's very frustrating when you're looking at different models and you want to see the inside of the car. The salesman says, hold on, and 5 minutes later he comes back with the key. And then you want to look at the blue one down the road, hold on, 5 minutes later he comes back. Well, I think one of the reasons they do this, at least that's what they taught me in salesmanship school 25 years ago, is that if you spend a lot of time with a salesperson, you end up feeling obligated. And there's a better chance of a sale if the customer takes up your time. I'm talking about the salesperson's time, which I think is I think it's kind of bogus. And I think that's I don't think any customer should feel obligated to a salesperson to buy a car from them because they went and got some keys. What we do at Frontier Motors, we make it really easy for you. We unlock every car every morning. So if you don't want to be followed around by a salesman because you really don't know what you want, you can do that at Frontier Motors. What we will do in the morning, we print out these price lists. And I've got one right here that I brought along. And it's about 15 pages of cars. And it's really kind of easy to read because it's alphabetical. So if you're looking for an Acura, it starts off with Acura, and I'll give you an example. It says we have an 08 Acura TL. It says it's a one-owner, automatic transmission, V6 car. We're asking $25,900 for the car, and it has 31,250 miles on it, and it's pearl white. So you have this in your hand, so you can look at that car, and you'll know at least what we're asking for the car. Now, that doesn't mean there can't be a little bit of negotiating or me giving you a bottom-line price in writing before you go, if that happens to be one of your finalists. And on Saturday, I had a customer that had finalized their purchase down to about 6 different cars. And so you can imagine how many cars they looked at when they wanted prices before they left on 6 different ones. They were looking about 30 to 40 cars on our lot, and they ended up test driving a lot of them, not everyone, but a lot of them. I think they test drove 20 cars. They spent a long time at the dealership, and they narrowed down to 6 cars, and then I gave them a bottom line out-the-door price in writing. They had a trade-in, so I praised the trade-in, and I was able to do my pricing thing on 6 different cars. It took me maybe 10 minutes. And it took me about 10 minutes to praise the car. So in 20 minutes, I had all the pricing done. But the nice thing that I think we did for the customer that they said that the other dealerships didn't do is they gave them the price after all the fees. And there are different fees that different dealers charge. Some of them charge a doc fee. I see now that some dealers are charging an electronic title filing fee. Now, it's only $25 or $30, but there's one more fee. Some dealerships charge a tire tax and a battery tax and a get-ready fee, a prep fee, and a doc fee. And I don't really care that they charge all these things. What I really care about is when they give you a price and you can figure out that taxes are about 7%, so you don't need a calculator to figure out, if it's a $10,000 car, it should be $10,700 out the door. Well, guess what? That's not how it works. So what you want to do is get an out-the-door figure. And folks, just so you know, just the tag alone, if you need a new license plate and a title, it's about $400. So if you've got $10,000 to spend and the salesman says, I can sell you this car for $10,000, well, you better figure out you need another about $1,300 because after you pay the doc fee, the tire tax, the electronic title fee, and all the other stuff that goes with it, including the taxes, you got on a $10,000 car, you got somewhere between $1,000 to $1,400 worth of fees, depending on which dealership you go to. And these are little things that we can kind of help you with. And getting back to when I started this conversation about 10 minutes ago, it's the free advice program. That if you're not sure what to pay for a car, and let's say you found a car at another dealership, or you found it on Craigslist, or heaven forbid, eBay, or you found it at the side of the road, and you say, hey, I found this car This is the information of the car. This is how many miles are on it. The car's in excellent condition. Tell me what I should pay. And what we do is we get right into the Manheim auction reports, which WCOA has given us a computer that I can get right into Manheim, Orlando. In fact, I've got it in front of me right now. And the Manheim auctions on Tuesday, actually, they already have 2,900 cars registered in Orlando. That's just one auction. And in Florida, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 13 auctions in Florida alone, just in Florida. And, you know, the nice thing about living in the Panhandle here is Alabama's not that far away. Alabama's got a bunch of auctions. And right next door to that, there's Louisiana. They got a whole bunch of auctions. So we've got about 20 auctions available that I can have representatives there. And by the way, folks, I never buy the car sight unseen. I send someone to the auction. And the reason I do that is because I don't trust anybody's condition report. I bought cars on eBay before from dealers that have told us the car is absolutely perfect. And the car came in, of course, on eBay. You got to pay for them first, and then they ship the car. And I get the car, and the car is trashed. The car's been smoked, nicked up, scratched up. The check engine light's on. It's not anything the way to describe. And, of course, I can give them bad feedback, but that doesn't give me my money back. So what I do is I send someone to inspect the car before I write the check. And that's one of the things that we talk about when it's advice. My advice is don't buy a car and don't pay for a car that you haven't seen and test drove and got inspected first. And the inspection part, of course, is not as important if you're buying a 2012 car as if you're buying a 10-year-old car. And not that I would tell you not to get a 2012 inspected, but the only thing you'd want to do is figure out just to make sure that the vehicle hasn't been in some type of an accident. And most of the history reports these days will point that out if it has been. And even if they don't, we have a paint meter that we can put on a car where I can pretty much tell if a car's ever been repainted. Of course, the car's not been repainted. I'm not too worried about that it's ever been in an accident or not. Nice thing about buying them at the auctions, like the Orlando auction, they guarantee their cars. And you can't do that by going to a private sale. There was an auction in Pensacola here. The police department had an auction a couple of weeks ago that I didn't have somebody that attended, but I know somebody attended. And one of the things they do, they put the red light on, and that red light says this car is being sold as is. So if the hammer goes down and you're the winning bid, and let's say you bid $5,500 on a car, and you like the car and everything, and you, on the way home the transmission's slipping on that car, you're pretty much out of luck. If the transmission costs $2,500, that's money that, there goes your deal. Because if you got a $2,500 deal and you got to put $25 transmission in, that's not so much of a deal anymore. Where when I buy them through the auctions, the green light is on. I only buy green light, and green light means they're warranted. That means that if anything over $400, depending on the auction, sometimes it's $300, is wrong with that car, I can arbitrate that car and get my money back, or they will pay to get it fixed. So if, for example, I get a car back and the air conditioner's not working, I can arbitrate that car. I normally have about 7 days to be able to talk to the auction once I do the inspection and make sure that the car passes my inspection or not. So that's one of the things that people always say, how do you know if I'm getting a good car? Because I'll do a locate on a car for them, and they'll say, well, how do I know if I'm going to like it? And if you tell me that, for example, you want a 2010 Nissan Murano, well, the first thing I say is, have you driven one yet? Do you know that's the car for you? Have you done your due diligence to make sure that that's the car you want, that you're not thinking about a Ford Edge or maybe an MKX or one of the other cars that are similar to the Murano, and you say, nope, I want a pearl white Murano. It's got to have less than 20,000 miles. It's got to have a navigation. Well, what I do is I do my research, and I find out what I can buy a car like that for. And matter of fact, I can do this while I'm even talking. I'll pull it up while I'm talking about that car. And then what I do is I go ahead and buy that car at the auction, and the customer always asks me, well, how do I know that it's going to be a good car or not? Well, the nice thing about buying it on a locate program through Frontier Motors is you don't pay me first. I pay first. I use my money to buy the car. I get the car back here. I run it through the shop and do a safety check on the car and detail the car. And then I put it out front after it's all detailed, and I tell you, come and look at the car. If it passes your inspection, we have a deal. And I'm pulling up the Nissan Muranos right now, 2010 premiums, which are the ones with leather, navigation, all the stuff on. It looks like they're going anywhere from around $26,000 to about $27,000. So I would tell you that I can buy you one of these cars somewhere between $29,000 and $30,000. And that's after I pay the fees. That doesn't mean I'm making $3,000, because when you buy the car at the auction, you still have to pay the auction. You pay the buyer, you pay the shipping, you pay the setup. So there's some fees that are related with that. But then I put a small markup on the car. But the nice thing about doing this, folks, is I give you the price before I get the car, so there's no shock. If you've got a trade-in, I'm going to appraise that car for you and tell you what I can give you for that car, so that I don't get the Nissan for you to find out that you want more money for the car than what I'm appraising it for. The other thing I do is I give you an out-the-door figure, and the other thing I do is tell you how much your payment's going to be approximately within $5 to $10. I can tell you how much the payment's going to be based on your credit rating. And the reason that's important so that if you have a budget of $300, and I've done this once by trial and error, where I got the car back there, the payments were $450, and the customer says, well, I can't afford that. Well, it was my mistake for not asking them what their budget was. They knew they wanted the car. They knew the price of the car. I thought that they had calculated a payment, and they hadn't. They knew that they were pre-approved for $300 a month. This car happened to be $450 a month, so they're up my sale. So what we do is we try to answer all the questions that you're not even asking them. We're going to answer the questions before you even ask them, just to make sure that when I buy a car on a locate for a customer, which about 25% of our business is locates. And this is not a normal locate system like most dealerships have, folks. If you go to a dealership, they'll say, I can get you that car. Let's say they don't have one on the lot. I had a customer the other day that wants a $10,000 Jeep Wrangler. And they say, we'll get you that car. They're not going to go buy that car for you. They're going to take your name and number, and if they happen to get one in trade, then they'll call you. Well, we get a lot more aggressive than that at Frontier Motors. We go out and buy that car for you. We know what you want. You tell us the colors that you're looking for. If you want an automatic transmission or manual, this particular customer that I had that wants a 2000, he doesn't care about the year. He wants a Jeep Wrangler for under $10,000. It's got to have hard doors. It can be sticker automatic. He's got certain color preferences that he likes, and he wants to make sure that he can get it inspected before he pays for it. And then I go out and buy him that car. Now, once I get the car, if it doesn't pass inspection, he doesn't have to buy it. Now, I've been doing this long enough where that's not going to happen. I already do my due diligence when I get it. We're able to test drive the car before the auction if I buy it at the auction. Of course, if it does happen to be a trade-in, I'll get it inspected while I'm doing the appraisal on the vehicle. I get a bit of background of the car by doing an auto check on it. Tells me how many owners it had, if it's ever been in an accident, if the miles are true or correct. These are things that I can do before I price the car to you. But those are just one of the things when we talk about the free advice. I have people already come to me and say, hey, I bought a car down the road, and I didn't like the car. I took it back 2 days later, and I told them I want my money back because they thought they had the right of rescission. And if you don't know what that is, you hear about the 3-day rule. When you buy something, you've got 72 hours to cancel the deal. Well, guess what, folks? That's not if you go to a car dealership. That's only if the car dealership goes to you. So if you're at your home and a salesman knocks on the door, and I think this was invented for probably the vacuum cleaner salesman or the pot and pan salesman, that you come during the day, and I don't want to be chauvinistic here, but in the old days it was the wife was at home. 20 years ago, the wife was at home, and she'd buy the vacuum cleaner for $3,500, put it on time payment plan. Of course, the husband would come home at 6 o'clock at night and he'd freak out. So they decided, the legislature said, to protect that from happening, they're going to do a 3-day rescission. And that is so the pressure comes off that if you have what they call buyer's remorse, you bought something, that you can back out of the deal. And they'll have that. And Don, you remember us making fun of the tent sales a couple of weeks ago. They had the tent sale, and we were talking about overhead and how I think a tent sale in the car business is somewhat of a joke because you have to rent the tent. And your overhead actually goes higher than lower if you have a tent sale. But when we talk about the tent sale, if it's off-premise and you buy a vehicle at a tent sale, you have a 3-day rescission. You can actually cancel that deal within 3 days. Now, the customer that came in, that didn't happen. They had bought a car from a dealership. They got buyer's remorse. They thought they paid too much. They didn't like the car, whatever the reason is, and they came to me for advice to ask me how they can get out of the deal. I said, you can't. Not legally. The only thing you can do is go all the way up to the owner and plead your case that you don't want the car. And if that, the dealer's normally not going to give you your money back. If they've already processed the deal, we do tag work electronically, Don. I don't know if you noticed now, but when you buy a car from us, that day or the next day, we've already done the tag work because we can do it right at the dealership. And so when a customer comes back 2 days later and says, I want my money back, well, wait a minute. The car's already been titled in your name. Now it's got another owner. Even though you've only had it for a couple of days, the vehicle is now registered. We transferred the tag on it. So it's not so easy to back out the deal. And normally what I do in a particular case like that, if I have a customer that has a car that they decided that maybe they paid too much, or I shouldn't say they paid too much. They wouldn't have bought it if they thought they paid too much. But maybe the payment was too high and they recalculated their budget. What I do is I trade them out of the car, and I'll tell them that if I made money money on the car that I sold them, which I'm assuming I did, or else I wouldn't have sold it. I'm going to make money when I sell the car. But I will sell them another car and not make any money. And that normally will take the sting out of the depreciation that you have. Let's say hypothetically, if I made $1,500 on a car, the customer wants to back out of the sale 2 days later. Well, they're going to, even if I appraise the car for what I originally appraised it for, they're going to lose that $1,500. Well, the way that I can make this a lot easier for them is I can sell them a car for what I've got into it, which is wholesale. So that way they're not paying a profit twice. And I've done that with a couple of customers. Fortunately, knock on wood, and being in business going on 16 years now, that's probably happened 5 times in 16 years where customers have come in and they decided that for whatever reason that wasn't the car for them. And we've worked with the customer so that the customer did not walk out upset. And I have had a lot of customers that have this happen to at other dealerships, and they got very frustrated because the other dealership pretty much told them to go pound sand. You bought a car, get out of here. And which is absolutely ludicrous when you think about customer retention and the fact that you want your customers to be happy because you want them to come back and buy another car. And if I've got a customer that is unhappy, I'm going to do whatever I can to sit down with them and show them how I can make them happy. And, and fortunately, we've been doing this so long at Frontier Motors that we hardly ever had this happen. Now, anything can break on a car, and to have a good reputation in the used car industry, or in the new car industry for that matter, is difficult because cars break, and when cars break, they hold the dealership accountable, irregardless how long they bought the car. I had a customer that bought a car about a year ago, and the air conditioning stopped working. And they were upset when I told them that I can get the air conditioning fixed at my cost, and I would pay for the diagnostics for free. In other words, I'll find out what's wrong with it, where if you go to a dealer, they're going to charge you $100 an hour just to look at it. Even if you don't fix it, it costs you $100. I told them I would pay for that at no charge, and I'll do it at my cost and not mark it up. If you go to a dealership, if the cost on air conditioning is $500, for example, your bill is going to be $850. Because that's how they make money in the service department. They got to pay the mechanic, they got to pay for the overhead and everything else. And what I can do is do it at my cost, and that's going to save you sometimes as much as 50%. So I thought that was reasonable, and the customer did, and so we ended up kicking a little bit of money. But sometimes things are unreasonable, but it's really difficult at times to keep a good reputation in the car business because things break. But what we do is we're very reasonable. What we do is we sit down with our customers, and 99% of our customers really appreciate when we help them out, when we do something for them. And because of that, 68% of our customers are repeat and referrals. Let's just round that off to 70%, which is phenomenal in the used car industry. And if we're doing 200 cars a month, that means 140 of those customers are repeat and referral customers. And heck, I don't even know why I'm doing the show, Don, because based on that, I could save my money, not do the show. And probably
don't think like that.
Don't think like that. Okay, all right. We'll go on to a different subject.
Don't talk like that.
Well, one of the reasons that I did the show, I like doing the show, and I have a lot of customers that come in and they say, I've been listening to that show for 5 years, and I finally need a car. And it hits home when you're doing it for 15 years. We've been doing the show going on 15 years now. I think we started about 6 months after we opened the dealership back in '94. Or actually '96 is when we opened the dealership. And about 6 months later, we started the show. So we've been doing the show for a long time. And it's always interesting to have a first-time customer that's listened to the show since we've been doing it. And the guy will come in with this 15-year-old car. Says, when you guys started, I bought a brand-new car, so I didn't need your help. Well, now my brand-new car is 15 years old. I'm going to need your help. And I've been listening to you guys talk about the alternative to a new car. And normally the way that it works is the customer said, I'm going to go to the new car dealership. And let's use our Corvette, for example. I'm going to go over to Sandy Sansing. I'm going to go Pete Moore, and I'm going to look at a brand new 2012. And I happen to like a blue Grand Sport. That's what I happen to have on the lot with 1,100 miles on it. That's why I'm using that example. So what I'm going to do is for this customer, I'm going to give him a bottom line price on my car. If he's got a trade, I'm going to praise the trade, and I'm going to give him the price with taxes, the dock fee, the tag transfer, and everything. I'm going to circle the one price. I don't care about the asking price of the car. For example, if I'm asking $50,000 for my car, and he could come back to me and say, well, I can buy a brand new one for $50,000. I said, I don't care. That's immaterial. The only thing that's important is that bottom line figure. Now, if my bottom line figure is the same as a new one, I got 1,100 miles on mine, I'm the first one to tell you that my advice would be go buy the brand new one. But that's not going to happen. My bottom line is going to be $5,000 to $6,000 less. I got 1,100 miles on my car. And because of that difference, most people are going to save the $5,000 and buy the one with 1,100 miles on, as long as that's the car they want. And that flips me over to the second thing. If that's not the one they want, let me get you the one they want. What if they don't want a Grand Sport? Mine's a coupe. What if they want a convertible? Mine's a stick. What's if they want an automatic? So I take that all consideration. I can get right on the auction, into the auction, find out exactly what I can get a 2012 regular convertible, a Corvette for, and I'll still give them a price. And the nice thing about what we can do at Frontier Motors is even if I don't have the car, I can still spec it out for you and still give you an appraisal and then give you the bottom line. The other thing we'll help you with, folks, is let's say you've saved your money, or let's say you just won the lottery, or let's say Grandpa died and just left you $1 million, and you said, hey, I can afford a brand new car. I don't care what you guys say over at Frontier Motors. I'm buying me a brand new car. I finally got the money, and I want one that nobody's ever sat in. Well, how about letting me appraise the trade-in? What if I appraise the trade-in for $10,000 and they appraise the trade-in for $8,000? Or better yet, I'll have, I just took a Honda in trade, and this was not from the Honda dealership, so I'm not picking a Honda, but it was a used Honda that he was trading at a new car franchise. I appraised the vehicle for $9,100. They appraised the vehicle for $7,000. I didn't overappraise it. I didn't pay too much. They just didn't want it. So they gave the customer a real low appraisal on the car. So what that means, folks, is you need a second opinion if you're going to buy a brand new car. It doesn't have to be a new car. Let's say you decide you're going to buy a used car and you found the used car of your dreams right down the road over in Car City. That's exactly what I've been looking for, and I want to know if they're treating me fair on the trade-in. So what you do is you bring the vehicle to Frontier Motors. We're going to scan the ID number, and within a couple of minutes, I'm going to give you what we call a buy figure, or maybe even a consignment figure. In other words, a consignment figure is what I will sell it for you for if you drop it off. The buy figure, if I need the car for the lot, this is what I would write you a check for. And the least that I can help you with is what they should be appraising it for. A lot of times what happens, and I had a customer the other day, they had a 2000 Grand Cherokee. At first, I wasn't going to give them a buy bid because it was an 11-year-old car, but when I saw how nice it was, it only had 70,000 miles on, I said, here's the buy bid. And they went to go buy a new car, and they didn't get anywhere close. It was about 50% of what I was appraising the car for. And again, it wasn't because I was paying too much. It's because they didn't want the car. They didn't deal in that old of a car, but when I find out the car's never been in an accident, they bought a brand new, and the whole, you go through, the nice thing about it is that I can go through the information with the customer and give them a buy bid within a matter of minutes. If you want to know how the consignment program works, stop in at Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway. I'll be more than happy to go over with you. Or you can call us at 436-8080. Or go online, go to our website, just Google Frontier Motors, and there'll be a section that says consignments. Click on there and tells you all the criteria for consignment. Car's got to be ready to go. Talk about financing real quick. A lot of credit unions are offering specials. We are an official Pen Air credit union right at Frontier Motors. If you buy a car, we can go right through Pen Air without you going to the branch. We can sign you up right there. Also, we're an official Harvesters dealer. If you're a Harvesters member of Harvesters Credit Union, we can sign you up at the dealership. We also have 8 other banks that we use. We can sign up. Most of these banks are just car banks, so sometimes you'll be surprised that the terms that they give you are actually better than you can get at your local credit union. So think about that when you walk in. A lot of people think that when you finance through the dealership, they charge you more, and you know what? They used to. Car dealership got a bad reputation a long time ago. They jacked up the rate. People got way too smart for that. Right now, if we don't save you any money, you're not going to go through us. 333 cars on the inventory. That website is a really good website because we have 21 detailed photographs of our cars. So, folks, if you know anybody that's looking for a car, just Google Frontier Motors. And you can put in there, if you want a Cadillac, for example, type in Cadillac, you're going to see that we've got about 8 Cadillacs in stock. And we just bought a 2011 Cadillac DTS Premium, which is a DTS. That's their big car with navigation, backup camera, sensors. That's the type of cars that we have in inventory. We also have about 50 cars under $10,000. That's Frontier Motors, 230 Beverly Parkway. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And remember, everybody is driving a used car. Auf Wiedersehen.
Doing business the old-fashioned way, Frontier. We got the right price, Frontier. We'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead.